Check out the full story on Amazon. Link in the description below.
What's the difference between a man and a monster? To me, there is no difference. I've hunted both. My name is Matt, and some of the things I hunt and have hunted are sometimes partly man, sometimes partly monster. I was a soldier in the U.S. Army, and I eventually fought my way up to the 75th Ranger Regiment. And much later, I was selected to be in the now renowned Delta Force. After 15 years of being an operator, I was honorably discharged from there and was hired by a private U.S. military contractor to be part of a task force through a recommendation from my superiors. The relatively small task force consisted of 4 other soldiers. The first one, Gary, was a Korean immigrant in a green beret with black hair tied up into a bun, and with a reputation for not giving a flying fuck about anything. The second member of our little task force was Jack, an Irish fellow who was an FBI agent and a Special Forces soldier who, like me, had climbed up the ranks after becoming a soldier. The third guy, Marino Charlie, his real name was Reggie Baker, was from Arizona and had been a forest ranger in DEA for 10 years before working as an overseas mercenary and guide for a decade. Then there was Jack Walsh, an Irish-American who was ex-MARSOC that worked for the FBI for a while. And last but not least, there was Hugo. Hugo was a decorated ex-sniper in his 50s who was a former DevGru operator and a total badass. We all sat down on chairs in a room with a man wearing a black charcoal suit who would brief us. None of us were informed why we were needed by the secret military branch, but there were easily 8 figures involved. The man, Smith, explained how we were individually selected for our respective prowess in our skills and careers for an extremely well-funded military program that was the first of its kind. Some sort of super soldier trial would require us to go on operations together to make sure we were compatible, which was when they dropped the bomb. He continued, "I was saying that you're all set and hired to create a task force, but this one's express purpose is essentially to kill or capture supernatural or paranormal entities and creatures. You'll all be hired as elite mercenaries in a team called Task Force Compass Nova Hunter." There's a long pause. "Are you bullshitting us?" Gary asked. "No," they replied. He pulled out a small remote, then turned on a television in the back of the room. Gary whistled. "This is gonna be good." Smith played a video on the television with multiple images of a forest with gory deer remains everywhere on the high treetops. And then a picture of a dead, gigantic, tentacled entity in an underwater cave, which was 100 feet in length. Then the screen switched to a blurry image of something that appeared to be humanoid, with a very long neck and head. Then it switched to a video of an extremely tall yet skinny and deformed man in an interrogation room, simply pulling his chains off when the interrogator was gone, ripping a hole in the concrete wall with his bare hands and crawling down. Then a picture of a huge map of the Appalachian Mountains, with red dots in specific locations and names attached to them. And then the video ended. "Now do you believe in this?" He put the remote away. "Was this supposed to be some sort of compilation? Why the hell are they so blurry? Didn't government officials record this?" "Nope," Smith replied, before checking one of his iced-out Rolexes and sighing. "Well, we're out of time here. I'll show you around. Get used to this shitty place." An hour later, and after some more boring briefings and slideshows, Marino Charlie Reggie, Hugo, Gary, Jack, and I were in the armory of the private contractor's base, whilst the guy showed us around. "This ain't your standard kit in operation. You all can choose different weapons, ammunition, and gear. Just pick what you could use best in a mountain or temperate forest setting. I'll be back when you're done." I chose something familiar, an M4 carbine as my primary, and in case we would be going underground in those cave-infested mountains, a Benelli M4. Out of the neatly organized armory, we also took a few knives, a combat pack, a plate carrier, and a box of ammunition, and of course, my old baseball cap a Terp had given me in Kandahar. Gary and I got matching M4 carbines. Jack picked out an M5 assault rifle to Gary's, whilst Hugo, the most experienced sniper of the group, picked a Barrett M82. The next day, from America, we were deployed to a very, very remote part of the deep Canadian wilderness, somewhere in the northern tip of Ontario. The helicopter dropped us off, and we were assigned to hunt down and kill an unknown entity that was causing multiple deaths and disappearances. The plan was to cover and clear the area, then wait until nightfall, and when the creature was most active, we would kill it. So guns up, we walked through the deep Ontario woods. "How the fuck are we supposed to kill something we don't even know about?" Gary asked. "Smith said you'll know it when you see it. Reminds me of a shitty NCO I used to have. Anyway, how'd you even end up?" Suddenly something jumped from the top of the trees and landed on top of Reggie. "Fuck!" he yelled. The monster turned its head and screeched. It was a huge, humanoid, deer-like creature with a 15-point rack of antlers, and the monster had an abnormally large hinged jaw filled with huge and sharp teeth. Strangest of all, beneath each regular deer eye were pairs of 2 yellow reptilian eyes, which seemingly were the real ones. Though the deer creature was at least twice Reggie's size, he managed to stab the fucker with a knife in the vital organ several times, which caused the monster to jump off. It got on all fours as Reggie kicked it off, and he scrambled back and stood up with his gun. "Fuck this!" We all unloaded our overloaded weapons on the creature, and it was instantly obliterated into a mushy pulp of a monster. It didn't go down, and it slowly got up, until Hugo obliterated the monster's head. I saw it twitch and slowly get back up, even though its face was a mushy pulp, and then it growled. Gary walked up to the monster, kicked it, and stomped on what was left of it, sending brain matter and guts everywhere. The creature didn't move after that. He spit his chewing tobacco on the now dead creature. "That's what you get, asshole. Wait, I need that." Unbelievably, Gary reached down and plucked what was left of his chewing tobacco off the dead monster's mushy head. He blew it off, flicked a part of the monster's eye off, and put it back in his mouth. "Good as new," Gary said as he chewed on the tobacco. "There is something seriously fucking wrong with you, Gary." "Thank you, Matt. You need a fresh mag?" I radioed back to Smith with the long-range radio. "We killed, well, whatever it is you wanted us to kill." "Already? Can you describe it?" "It looks like Satan's first bitch gave birth to it. 6 eyes, 2 eyes were fake. It walked on 2 legs, had teeth like fucking needles and a huge mouth, and a hinged jaw." "That ain't it. You guys just killed a night deer, or what people are getting confused with wendigos. Might be a skinwalker. They're pretty common around these parts, but they still might be a future problem for us, so good job killing it." My heart dropped. "You mean that what we just killed was not the fucking target?" "No. What you're looking for probably eats night deer for breakfast, lunch, and fucking dinner, based on the corpses we found. But we haven't gotten a real description of your target, since all the stupid witnesses keep getting killed. But if you see something that can move at 90 miles per hour, around 8 feet tall, with appendages and multiple eyes, that's the real target." "Oh," I said. "Thanks for the clear, concise intel." "By the way, is that asshole Gary, I think, dead? Pretty sure I mixed the recommendation papers up. We're supposed to have this SAS chick instead of him." "No, actually, he's the one who finished it off." "That's Smith?" Gary asked. Smith hung up when he heard Gary. "So what did Smith say?" Jack asked. I looked at the corpse of the dead knot deer. What we just killed is not the target. It's what the target eats verbatim, breakfast, lunch, and fucking dinner. Fuck me. I should have reconsidered that damn contract. I wanted to work for Blackwater, not whatever the hell this shit is. Ah, don't be a quitter, I chuckled. Hugo, you're the best nav guy. What the hell's our next move?
Well, we need to get moving anyway. It'll be nightfall soon. And we need to cover as much area as possible. I have a feeling that our target will come to us.
That night, the rest of the Compass Nova hunter and I made a large campfire and sat around it, keeping watch. The woods were eerily silent, with not a bird chirping, not a squirrel or deer, although that might have been because of the gunshots we let out when an aggressive bear came too close for comfort. In the middle of the night, when it got much darker and colder, we started taking shifts, keeping watch and sleeping. When it was my turn to keep watch, I noticed something moving in one of the higher trees. It was large, based on the way it moved. I shook Gary and the rest of the group awake.
Gary! Damn it, Gary, wake up!
What the hell?
Gary stood up and grabbed his rifle. Movement. You're in the trees.
Where else have I heard that before?
Everyone took their positions, with Hugo sniping from the campsite and actively hunting for the monster. The creature jumped down from the trees onto the ground and began moving at an incomprehensible speed towards us. It was so fast that I couldn't make out any real physical details of the creature, other than it was at least the size of a military Humvee and it was crawling on all fours. I fired a shotgun and let a huge spray of Italian buckshot out at the creature, but I completely missed. The monster was now within 50 meters, based on what my headlamp and the gun barrel flashlight was showing. With a loud gunshot, Hugo fired the 50-point caliber rifle, amazingly hitting the monster. It screeched out in pain, and the bullet was powerful enough to temporarily stop it. At the sudden stop, I noticed one detail of the creature. Tentacles. In a sudden rush, the creature was suddenly moving again with incomprehensible speed, circling our camp. And if this thing couldn't get any crazier, we heard 2 rapid bursts of high-caliber weapons not belonging to us firing at once, hitting the creature. The 2 very well-placed repeated bursts of bullets were enough to scare the huge creature, and the enormous monster jumped on a tree and disappeared through the woods. "Who the hell was that?" I asked. 2 figures emerged from the trees behind our camp. They were both well over 6 feet tall, dressed in tactical gear and modified hunting outfits, and holding large custom-made tactical elephant rifles with magazines. The man on the right, who was tall, in his early 30s or late 20s, nearly 7 feet tall, spoke up. "I could ask the same thing. Who the hell are you guys?"
Classified fucking informants, jackass. What are you 2 chucklefucks doing out here?
The man turned to his partner and asked, "Hey Sergio, they with us?" "No." "Where are you guys from?"
Private military contractor. We're on an extermination mission right now to kill whatever the fuck just attacked us. Who's sending you?
"The hunters. A private and loosely organized organization, yet globally operating. Looks like you guys know what you're doing, so I'll let you in. My friend here, Sergio, takes care of most of the cases in North America. We're here to kill whatever is causing all the animal and human deaths around here. But it looks like our target found us. You guys are ex-military, right?" "Yeah," I said. "I am. Our contractor hired the best and highest-ranking SOFCOM operators to hunt these monsters. Any idea who hired you?"
Nope, not at all, Gary said. They never gave us their official name besides DOSACT. Those weird government fuckos just gave us a huge check and said fuck it.
"Any idea what the hell this thing even is?" I asked. "I wouldn't be surprised by anything. We just killed a demon deer a few hours ago. If we did, do you think we'd be hunting it? That thing moves so fast it's probably supernatural, so your bullets ain't gonna do shit except wound it."
You have something better?
"Actually, I do. We have incendiary 50-point caliber silver-tipped rounds blessed by several shamans covered in white ash, holy water salt, and juniper ash. It's worth it, but damn, it's hard to get bullets like those. Gary whistled.
Looks like those bureaucrats aren't the smartasses they say they are. No wonder they didn't give us that enchanted wizard shit in the first place. Also, a bullet like that wouldn't even...
Suddenly, we heard multiple screeches all around us. What the fuck? I muttered. Then, we saw multiple glowing eyes open in the trees all around us. 12 eyes each belonging to the monster in the trees.
Fuck, there's more of them. More targets. Gary grinned.
Zach pulled out a flare, lit it, and held it high in the air. The monsters surrounding us screeched and recoiled, as Zach, the really tall guy, thrust the flare into the air.
Light! He yelled. These fuckers are scared of light!
Immediately, everyone started throwing logs and sticks onto the fire, and Reggie poured his entire whiskey flask onto it too.
How many are there? Asked Hugo.
A dozen at least, kid.
And how many do we have?
7, counting those wannabe hunters over there.
I walked over to Zach.
So he said our bullets can't do much since we don't have your holy water shit?
Yeah, but you can dip your bullets in these.
Zach took a medium-sized jar out of his backpack, and it was filled to the brim with a mixture of holy water, salt, silver particles, and white ash blessed by a shaman. Our squad began dipping our shotgun shells, bullets, and knives into the concoction, thanking the monster huntress. Of course, we were not responsible for whatever unholy gems would come out of that.
Now let's kill these fuckers, I said.
Wait for a minute, guys, Gary started.
Where did all the monsters go?
From somewhere deep in the woods I couldn't see, something threw a huge log at our campfire, smothering it and sending ash, trees, branches, and dust everywhere.
Fuck!
Gary yelled. All of a sudden, every single one of those monsters came at us at once, crashing through the trees and leaping into the clearing. They were so fast in the initial charge, our team only managed to kill 4 of them with our guns.
At your back!
One of the monsters jumped on me and pinned me to the ground, roaring as it tried to slash away at my Kevlar vest. I shined my light on it, and that's when I got a good look at the ugly motherfucker. He was huge too, 2 feet taller than me, maybe a little taller than Zach, with a round face and a mostly humanoid torso with tentacles protruding out of it, but with 8 bent and strange spindly legs. It was skinny, with a round head and a hinged jaw with rows and rows of teeth, its mouth surrounded by a long crown of tentacles. It slowly drooled on me, with its face of pure evil. "Fuck!" I yelled. I stabbed the creature with my knife in the ribs, then the neck, but unlike the deer creature from earlier, it didn't budge. Is this the end? After all this? I heard a very quick whip of a blade being taken out of its sheath, and then the monster's decapitated head fell on my face. Zach stood over me, holding a large black machete he had just sheathed on his belt, the blade dripping with black blood.
"You nearly got killed, softcom my ass."
"What the fuck?" I exclaimed. "You said these things were almost bulletproof. How'd you do that?" He picked up his rifle. Magic. We'd killed 7 so far, so that meant there were 5 or more left, but the monsters had retreated. Gary fired a few shots into the woods, yelling jarhead shit before we took a few seconds to recuperate. We reloaded, checked for injuries, and headed off, with the help of our 2 experts, and began to track the monsters back to wherever they came from. We ended up at a large cave system in a rock wall, from where we could hear multiple screeches and shouts coming from.
"All right," Hugo said. "It's too close quarters for me to fight in there, so I'll wait out here in case any stragglers try to get out."
We all loaded up and went inside and cleared the area. We walked forward until we hit a huge cave section, at least the size of a high school gym. I lit a flare and held it up, and the eyes of at least 24 individual monsters reflected. Gary whistled, possibly for the last time.
"Fuck these things."
And with a flurry of gunshots, we did fuck shit up. By some miracle, we ended up killing every last one of those monsters, and Hugo took care of the ones trying to escape. To kill any eggs or survivors, Zach set off a few controlled fires inside, and I called in a cleanup crew. And Zach and Sergio went their separate ways from us. We were paid greatly, in the high 7 figures, and the next extermination was a month away, to hunt a nest of Tsuchigumo in Japan. Gary, Hugo, Jack, Reggie and I became pretty close, meeting up every week in between operations in our free time to drink around a bonfire, share war stories. 6 years later, I received a call on Friday, and the caller ID was anonymous. I picked it up. "Hello?" I said.
"This is Smith," said the man. "Remember me?"
"Yes, sir. What can I do for you?"
"An ancient deity called Colossal just broke free from a massive hollow cave system below the sea, and that asshole is heading for the mainland with a whole army of ugly bitches. The U.S. military wants the super soldier program involved. Would you care to join? Not that you have a choice in the matter anyway."
Hell yeah. Count me in.